Okay. Ẹ jẹ́ n dúró báyìí. Máìkì kejì yẹn ńkọ́? Eléyìí wúwo. All right. I can even speak without the mic and need to. Ladies and gentlemen, because of time, let me stand on the existing protocol. I want to welcome you and I want to congratulate you for being one of the chosen ones. As speakers before me has rightly said, we have many graduating students in Kwasu, but that you are choosing to attend this program is a plus for you. And if you look at the choice of topic that we are treating today, you will discover that is a privilege and you are going to come out better. Now, the speaker before me already talked about using diplomacy in communication and negotiation. My own topic is adopting diplomacy as a guide to leadership and management. Now, first thing I want you to understand is that the life you are living as a student, you are in final year, I believe, you will discover that immediately after you graduate, you might still continue the same life until after your NYSC. Immediately after your NYSC, you face a different world entirely. The first thing you will notice is that immediately you graduate and go for NYSC, the level at which people are giving you money will drop. You are facing reality gradually. Your parents will begin to tell you, shebi you are collecting alawi. Highest we tell them is not enough, house rent is high, food stuff is high, they will keep giving you. The moment you finish your NYSC, another life entirely. That is when you will now discover that life is harsh. You remember, for those of you in social sciences, you remember the word of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and J.J. Rousseau, when they said life at the beginning is nasty, brutish, solitary, and poor. You remember? Now, at that point, how do you forge ahead? How do you relate with the reality that will befall you, that will come your way? At that point, you know, at this point, you are not a leader, because you are still taking directive from somebody. At that point, you have become a leader, where you are going to decide what you want for yourself. Are we together? You know, entering the marriage level is another thing entirely, because at that point, you are going to submit part of your sovereignty. As a man, you submit part of your sovereignty. As a woman, you submit part of your sovereignty. Because now you know you can go out at any time and come in at any time. But at that point in time, you cannot go out and come back at any time. That will be the time when somebody will ask, where are you coming from? Whether you like it or not. That is the reality of life. Now, how do you now manage that leadership period? With diplomacy. That is what we want to talk with, either at home or at office space. Now, next slide. In this short lecture, in the next 10-15 minutes, we are going to be looking at the concept of leadership management and diplomacy. We are going to examine the need to adopt diplomacy as a guide to leadership and management. And you know, in life, I used to tell people, if you are standing alone, assuming the entire world has one person, there won't be problem. Will there be any problem? If you are living in a room, you are occupying a room alone, will you have anybody to fight with? If you keep your pot here, in the next 1 week, if you don't touch it, that is where you meet it, and you will not complain. But the moment you are two in that room, there is bound to be conflict, whether you like it or not, either at home or now. Let's talk about workplace. Is it possible for you to be at a workplace and be there alone? Even if it is a one-man business, won't you have interaction with customers? Which means there is bound to be conflict the moment you are two or more. So we are going to look at how do you use diplomacy to also manage conflict among friends, among your colleagues at work, and among family. We are going to look at diplomatic models of conflict management, and we are going to look at diplomatic style and outcome in leadership management, leadership and management. Next slide, please. Now, we won't belabor ourselves about the definition of leadership. You are student, I believe, even if you don't know the bookish definition of leadership, you can easily open any book and read. But what is more important is that when you talk about leadership, is talking about the action of leading people in an organization, isn't it? Whether at home or in workplace. You know, in your house, in your class, there are leaders. Let me bring this to your consciousness. Do you know, among your friends, if you are 2, 3, 4 that you are moving together as friends, you have a leader, consciously or unconsciously. There is somebody cutting the shot. There is somebody influencing other people that is determining what you do when you go out and the decision you take. You may not be conscious of it before, but now take note of it. You will discover that there is someone who is the leader in that group. You may not recognize that person as a leader. You will just discover that in most cases, his opinion is usually what shapes your behavior. In most cases. Now, influencing others towards a collective goal. All of you want to take decision. He or she will successfully influence you to achieve that goal. And you know there is difference between power and influence. Power is the ability to make somebody behave in a way that that person will not have behaved, but with the use of force. But in this case, among friends, somebody might not force you, might influence you, but in that way is the ability to make somebody behave in a way that that person will not have behaved without using force. But there are some subtle force as well in it. So we are going to dwell more in that one. Now, for you to now identify leadership, leadership is based on the following notions. One, leadership is concerned with fostering change. As situation is arising, somebody needs to take decision to make other people to shift. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. The moment we have a new president, Do you observe that people started aligning from one way of behavior to another way of behavior? Do you observe that what Jonathan will have done, Buhari will have done, that will have pushed people to the streets to protest? Tinubu has just done it and people are even commending him. That is the notion of leadership. It's a style. It depends on the one and you are adopting and your ability to adapt it, to foster change. Ability to do things differently to achieve extraordinary results. That is what makes you a leader. If you are not better than me, then how do you now become my leader? How do I recognize you as a leader? A leader is someone that you have problem, you don't know what to do, you go and meet him with the expectation that he will give you directive and that he will give you direction. That's what makes that person qualify for you to know that this person is my leader. Next slide. Now we talk about management here, the art of knowing what you want to do and then seeing that they do it in the best and the cheapest manner. Next slide. Now, managing people and resources. You are moving out of school. The way you are spending your money now is not the way you will spend your money when you are the one working for the money. Are we together? So you start training yourself on how to manage people and resources. See, let me advise you. You are graduating. You raise your mind that your first thing to do outside school is to look for a job. Are we together? Remove that in your mind. That once I finish your NYSC, I will do my CV, I will start looking for a job. Know one thing in life. Nobody can be rich through salary. It's not possible. Work in Shell, let them pay you 1 million per month. You will not be rich. You will only be comfortable. You can never be rich earning salary. It's not possible. It means you have to think outside the box. What is it can I do that will make money for me? Your first degree is not meant that you must use it to work. You read accounting. That doesn't mean you should work in a company as accountant. First degree is mere exposure. Are we together? The way you do whatever business you have chosen to do is what will now determine your level of exposure. Let me give you an example. Somebody is hairdresser. Abi, is that not the name you call them? What do you call stylist? And did not go to school. What do you expect the person to do? The person will get a shop, put instruments there, and be waiting for customer to come and style their hair and collect money, and display the wig and so on in front of the shop. As a graduate, if you are a stylist, do you know the fact that you know that it's not necessary for you to open a shop before you become a stylist? Is as a result of your exposure. I've seen people selling goods and services without having a shop through phone. You can do all this, your Instagram, all this WhatsApp, all this Facebook, and you will make more money than somebody who is sitting in one place. It's exposure. It's as a result of your leadership skill and management techniques that you are adopting. Now, there are some, if you want to become a good manager, there are some notions that you must have at the back of your mind that you must follow. Number one, accountability. You know, when we talk about accountability, we are not talking, you know, people confuse the meaning of accountability When you say accountability, because it's from accounts, they thought you must be transparent in accounting. No, that's not the meaning of accountability in this context. The meaning is that whatever you have chosen to do, are you doing it as expected? Are you discharging your responsibility? You are a student today. If you did not go to class, you know your expectation is that by 8 a.m. you must be in class, if that is what is on the timetable. If you are not going to that class, you are not accountable. A lecturer that is supposed to be in class 8 to 10 and did not show up is not accountable. That's why, you know, in Nigeria, the rate at which people are dying in the hospital, nobody questions the doctor. Once you go to the clinic and that person died, the doctor will just say, we try our best, we lost him. And that's the end. But in this advanced country, should anybody die in the clinic or hospital or anywhere, the first thing they do is autopsy. What actually killed him? It may be negligence on the part of the doctor. That is accountability. But here, we don't care. If somebody died, is dead, that's all. Number 2, responsiveness. Number 3, I think you have the material. So we won't belabor ourselves. You read them more. Now, I am more interested in the aspect of crisis management. Now, let's slide. Now, this is diplomacy. I think Malam Nasir defined diplomacy. He has talked about, okay, now the only thing that we have to eat are the variant of diplomacy. When you are hearing diplomacy, we have many variants of diplomacy. We have traditional diplomacy, dollar diplomacy, economic diplomacy, citizen diplomacy, standard diplomacy, allied diplomacy, public diplomacy. You will read them more in that material. Now, let's move. Now, why do we need to adopt diplomacy when we are talking about leadership and management? You remember, you know, Aristotle once said, man is a political animal. And in the process of interaction, there is bound to be conflict. Isn't it? Is there no conflict when we are relating? Now, your ability to use diplomacy to resolve it. The first speaker talked about resolving issue of communication with diplomacy. The way you address people is very, very important. I love the example he gave when he was talking to this lady about how to respond to greeting somebody below you, because the way you are, the way you treat people is the way you will be treated. Diplomacy is extremely important when you are building yourself as a leader. You know, we used to say youth are the leaders of tomorrow. That is in the olden days. You have to train yourself as today's leader in your own right, so that by the time you find yourself in leadership position, it will not be strange. You won't become a leader by accident. As a leader, you need to control people of different backgrounds. People you are relating with, they come from different backgrounds. Some come from well-to-do home. Some come from a struggling home. You are relating with people who might have problem. You are the boss at work, or you are one of the worker. The person you are going to deal with probably has problem at home with his wife or husband before coming to office. You know what they call transfer of aggression. It is your own ability to use diplomacy to manage that person. Because when somebody don't have opportunity to vent anger, the nearest person to them will bear the brunt. As somebody who is trained in diplomacy, you must know how to relate with that person. That's the essence of you coming here. So that by the time you go outside, You know how to relate with everybody of different behavior. My colleagues used to ask me that how come you don't fight anybody? I say I can't fight anybody because I know all of us don't have the same behavior. We don't reason the same way. Therefore, I will relate with you based on your nature. That is diplomacy. That doesn't portray you as a weaker person, and that doesn't make you a stronger person as well. It will only make you somebody who will be happy always, because you fight people. You are, even if you defeat that person, you will still not be happy, because you are going to be looking at your back. Do you think that person will not revenge? If you are defeated, it's still a problem. So with diplomacy, you must be able to manage people with their selfish aspirations. Everybody wants to reach the top. There are two ways to reach the top. Is either you prepare yourself to become the best, or you cannot prepare yourself to go up. You want to maintain where you are, but cut the performance of other people. Are we together? Those are the two ways. So which means everybody aspire to be at the top. You must now be the one to know how to manage them. Next slide. Now, no, go back. We said no organization exists without tension. There is no way. Prepare your mind. You see all this one you are having, the relationship you are having among yourself, they are child's play. By the time you go out of school, you will see reality of life at home and in workplace. Whether you work for somebody or you are the owner of the business, you are going to see the reality of life. Tension in life. The way, you know, this one that you are doing, for those of you who are doing boyfriend and girlfriend, is a lie. You see those behavior, going out, coming back, buy something for you, calling you dearie, calling you this. Those ones are fake. It is when you answer I do, 2-3 months after, you now see reality of life. That is when you see reality of life. You met your husband or your wife at a club. Eventually you marry. After 3-4 years that you have given birth to 2 children, do you think the guy will take you or allow you to go to bar? But if you want to go, isn't it? You will say if you are not going, he also should not go. That is the reality of life that you are going to face. You are going to manage tension at home. You get to office, there is tension. There is tension everywhere. How do you manage it? It is the duty of a leader to manage conflict by harmonizing misunderstanding. You may not be the most senior at workplace, but if you are able to manage your colleagues, you become a leader by your own right, not by being the most senior. Now, how do we now use diplomacy to manage crises at home and in workplace? That's what we now want to quickly discuss in the next 5 minutes. I know I have 5 minutes. Hey, I know it will remain 5 minutes. I'm following the time. Oh yeah, next slide. Now look at this model. There are 4 ways by which you can manage conflicts. And out of these 4, only one is better. Only one is good. Other 3 are not good. Only one. But